Hello and welcome to Women Who Lead. And thank you all so much for joining us today and also for being such loyal watchers and followers of both the show and the podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have three phenomenal leaders with me today who are making a huge impact in their companies and also in the real estate industry. Each of these leaders is purposeful about the work they do and the driving forces behind their organizations, helping to push initiatives and also helping organize events, empower their agents and employees, and provide resources to enable success. I love it. My name is Teresa Palacios Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for HomeServices of America. And I'm the host of this series, which is a passion for me because we get together with powerful industry leaders who share their experiences over un cafecito, which is so common in the Latino community, and I've heard all over cultures across the world who absolutely enjoy a cup of coffee to share experience and to discuss important facts. So today is no different, and I can't wait to introduce our impactful leaders. So let's get started. With me today, I have Renee Gonzalez. Renee is the CEO of Long Companies and oversees leadership and strategic planning. Long Companies is comprised of Long Realty, Prosperity Home Mortgage, Agave Title, and Long Insurance, and is based in Tucson, where the company is the leading real estate brokerage across all of Southern Arizona, with a network of more than 1,400 licensed real estate associations in more than 41 offices, including 25 affiliate realty and property management companies that are independently owned and operate throughout Arizona and into Mexico. And we're going to discuss a little bit more about that as we take our conversation today. She is a Nebraska native, and she holds a bachelor's degree in business with an emphasis in finance and human resources from is it Nebraska Wesleyan University,
Yes.
Renee? Awesome. Her passions include running and being a mother to her daughter Zoe. Her life motto is to live every day to its fullest and don't let anything stand in your way of having a fun and enjoying life. And I love that motto.
Thank you.
Tammy Madente, also known as Tamara J. That's actually your official name, but we all know her as Sweet Tammy, and she's the president of First Weber Incorporated. She's worked in real estate since 1986, where she quickly became a top producing agent. And then in the 1990s, she shifted her energy into real estate management. And in 2002, she joined First Weber as a group as a partner, a full partner. And Tammy, along with her partners, grew First Weber to become the state's largest brokerage company. That's very impressive. Over the span of her career, she's also served on many organized real estate boards and committees. And in 2018, she received the Esteem Lifetime Achievement Award from the Greater Milwaukee Association of Realtors. Most recently, Tammy was named Milwaukee's Business Journal 2022 Women of Influence and Forbes Magazine 2022 Extraordinary Woman. Wow, that's so cool. Tammy's definition of success provides the platform for the values she has adopted. Success is not money and power. Success is living on your terms and making a difference. It is a true balance of family, friends, and career, and you need to take time for all of them. I love that. Tammy and her husband, Norbert Gilbert, live in Bayside, Wisconsin, and they have 7 grown children and a total of 10 grandchildren, which I am shocked. That is surprising just to see you. And then Melanie Woodingbach. Melanie is the Chief Operating Officer of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Northwest Real Estate and Real Estate Professionals in Oregon and in Washington, and she oversees all the aspects of operations. She joined the company in early 2017. Prior to that, she held the role of Senior Division President of a national title and escrow company, leading direct and agency operations in multiple states during her 23-year career in that industry. Melanie is also a native. She's a native of Seattle and attended the University of Washington, while she enjoys spending her free time traveling, hiking on the water, and attending sporting events. And I know she's an adventurer for sure. She loves spending time with her daughter, supporting her activities while splitting her time between the Seattle and Portland areas. And again, I'm so excited to have all of you on the show. Welcome. And I can't wait to get started. So here's my first question that I ask every single guest. How on earth did you get into the real estate industry? And I'm going to start with you, Renee.
All right. Well, thank you again for having us. I'm so excited to be able to have this conversation. I got started in the industry in a little bit different scenario than most in real estate. I actually started in the mortgage organization, where I worked for one of our sister companies in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm from, as a loan officer. And then about 22 years ago, I was given the opportunity to move here to Tucson to become part of the Long Realty family and start our mortgage organization, Long Mortgage, here at that time. So we were able to position ourselves within mortgage, and then I moved into the title operation and ran our title organization here and our insurance organization. And then about January of 2021, I took over as the CEO here at Long. So I've been in this industry and within companies that have real estate and mortgage and title and the whole core services organization since I've been in this career. And it's been nothing but very, very fun, different every day, and very exciting and opportunity to work with a lot of people. So I love it.
Oh, that's great. And not unique to any of you, because I know, Molly, you've got a little bit of that background as well with the title aspect. And I know that a lot of our leaders start off in the mortgage side, including Christy Budnick, who actually is, also the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. How about you, Tammy? How did you get in the business?
Oh, mine is probably a little bit different story. I've always been in some type of service business. I started very early, first of all, in retail. And those that know me know how much my weakness for clothing is. And of course, that's where I started. But I found very quickly that I really enjoyed helping people put together their wardrobes, and I became very popular at it. And here I was serving. I went from there to hospitality, and the same thing happened is when people would come in, it was really always important to me that I was giving them the best experience possible. And I realized how much I loved service and loved making people feel good. I had a good family friend's mother that was in real estate, and I admired her. It's like, this woman was always in a good mood. She was always having fun. And she had one day came to me and she said, Tammy, she said, this is a natural. This is your North Star. You need to do this. And she convinced me, and here it is 36 years later. And, now I went from, wardrobes to experiences to really serving the American dream, and nothing makes me prouder.
Oh, wow. I love that. And it's so true, right? It's that customer service experience that really makes a difference. And I saw that kind of thread run through all three of you and how important that is. And that's why I know a lot of you have successfully become top companies, also best places to work. How about you, Melanie? Tell me a little bit about how you got into the real estate business.
Well, like a lot of people, my initial entry into the business was through family relationships. So I had an uncle that operated a title company in the market in Seattle. And I was actually between my freshman year of senior year of high school, my freshman year of college. I really didn't even know what a title company was. I didn't know if it was tile or title, but I knew that the job worked with my schedule. But ultimately, at that point, I had aspirations to be in another business. I wanted to work in sports. That was kind of the path that I had set out for myself. But got my feet wet in the business, and opportunities presented themselves. And ultimately, it's just a great business. I think the opportunities afforded to women in this business are just abundant, and I just enjoyed it and ultimately cultivated it into a career. I was, so like, as you alluded and, kind of Renee alluded to, I did begin in the title, or spent the majority of my career in the title and escrow side of the business. I have been in that side of the industry for 23 years. And was overseeing multiple states for a large title underwriter, title and escrow underwriter, and transitioned to this side of the business only about 5.5 years ago. But I think, Renee would probably speak to this, having worked in other aspects of the business. It's really a pretty easy transition or leap because you're ultimately just adding value to others. You're really just of service to brokers and building their business and helping consumers culminate that homeownership experience.
Right.
And so, that transition for me from one side of the business to the other, I think was pretty slight and natural. And so I haven't looked back, and it's been very exciting.
Well, I love that. And it's so true. It is probably the most confusing part of real estate is the title piece, because a lot of people don't know part of it. So we'll have to take a whole course and session on just title itself. And I have to mention that my daughter, Jessica, whose birthday was on October 15th, is also in the title business. So, hey, one day she might be the CEO, right?
There you go.
Looking forward to that. So I know I kind of mentioned that you are all part of Best Places to Work, that you have been named a company that has been successfully been able to do that implementation within your organization. So tell me, what's the magic secret to become a best place to work? And I'm going to start with you, Tammy, because I think that's such a huge award and a great statement about what you do in your organizations.
Yeah, it's a great honor, and I think we're probably almost in our 10th year of receiving it. There's nothing real secret about it. What you have to do is you have to get out of the corporate office in front of your people.
Mm-hmm.
I taught all of my management team always is you have to treat everyone as if they have a sign hanging around their neck, make me feel good today.
Mhm.
We all have our baggage, and when they step through that office door, I want it all left there and people to be made feel good. So, make a point of getting out into the offices and, doing listening sessions with the agents and the staff, everyone to find out, what is it they need? We recently discovered the Mentee. I don't know if you're familiar with the Mentee program, where they can actually put it up on a screen anonymously. And it's amazing, the responses you'll get from people of what's working, what's not working, what can we do? And we make sure that we get, and we have a big footprint in the state of Wisconsin, but, I make sure that I'm in those offices, at least every one of them at least once a year. And then obviously our bigger offices more often, but it really is just about connecting with the people.
Mhm.
I think that's so important and such a critical piece. And today more than ever, because we have lost that connectivity through Zoom and through different, with COVID and the lockdowns. And I think people do feel isolated. And so I love that. That's great. Thank you so much, Tammy, for sharing that. How about you, Renee?
So I have to agree with this. We're probably going to say all the same things, but just in a different way. But it's really you'll hear me say this a lot, and it's about us positively impacting people's lives. That's what Long Company's why is. We always want to know, what's your why? Why are you doing this business? And our why is to positively impact people's lives. And that can be from opening the door for someone, as when you walk in the door in the morning, saying good morning to everyone, making everyone that you interact with a part of the goal, and just making sure that they feel important. From the people, actually the person that's at the receptionist desk is probably one of the most important people, because they're the first person that a client interacts with when they come into one of our offices. And and all the way to our closing department, which is the end result, right? That's the last person that somebody usually sees, is when they're getting their keys and being able to purchase and walk away with their home, either buying or selling. And if we can all have the mantra of we would just want to positively impact them, then I think that we can all walk away, everybody walks away with a smile and feeling better about themselves. And that is one of the reasons that I believe that we continue to be able to be awarded the top place to work for both of our employees and our agents.
Oh, I think that's a beautiful mantra, number one. And also, you mentioned the first person that you see, Dan Forsman, who you all know, right? who I actually was one of my mentors, right? He'd always say that the receptionist is the CEO of First Impressions. And he'd always say that. And he would tell that person, you're the CEO. And this is why it's important for you to also exude that when people walk in the door. And that does make a difference. Melanie, how about you? Anything you want to add? Because I think it's so incredible that all of you have received that honor.
I think, really, I think that they cover it, but just, we really are just here to serve. And so really having that from the top down. And at the end of the day, as you both allude, the support staff, the administrative staff, the staff that's in the offices in the field is, really their touches are as important or as more important than, anyone's within the organization. And so really just having that authentic desire to serve. And so surrounding ourselves with people and team members who share those philosophies, and then developing those authentic connections. So as Tammy said, being out in the field with people, I would really rather be out in offices than behind a desk. I don't even have a certain desk anymore, and nor does our CEO or any of our senior leadership. We really try to just spend the majority of our time out in the field with our broker partners, with our staff, and then just, really carrying that philosophy through the organization. And then I think it just has developed that authentic relationship that translates to people just feel good about being there.
A kindness. I think that is the biggest thing that all of you kind of resonated through everything that you mentioned, right? Which is so important. And now I want to shift into some personal situations that y'all have done within your organizations or professionally development. And Renee, I know that several years ago, when I joined the company and found out about Long, because I had no idea where Long was, and I realized what a great organization. You shifted your marketing and recruitment a very different way. And I want to know, why was that important and what was the significant impact on that shift?
Yeah, thank you. So, we're located in Tucson, the majority. We have offices all around Phoenix and Arizona, but Tucson is about 90 miles away from Mexico. And we have a large population of Hispanic and growing education there. And also the University of Arizona is here, and we get a lot of people coming in from all different parts of the United States to be a part of the university. So we took the opportunity to look at our different marketing and recruiting and said, are we really working to recruit and market to all facets of Tucson, whether it's the higher end, where our luxury market share is the highest in the city, or the areas of first-time homebuyers and all of the different ethnicities that are within our market. And so we took the strategy of, we wanted to go where we weren't, go where we're not, was our strategy, and to really look at where we are and where we're successful and where we're not, and where we need to focus. And so a lot of our marketing was around Long Realty and Long companies want to be everything real estate for everyone. And so we spent a lot of time working with recruiting. We started a group called Grupo Hispano, which is our Hispanic agents that are fluent and bilingual and able to work within that part of our population to really grow their home ownership, because that's something that definitely is needed. And we wanted to be the company that was there. And we opened an office down in one of our areas where the majority is the Hispanic population. And that has just been a great, you have to be where they are. You know this, I'm not telling you, Teresa, anything that you don't know. You have to become part of the community. And that has been a very big success for us. And it continues to be a success. It's a slow succession becoming part of the community. But I think that it's critically important and something that we will continue to focus on as we move forward within being everything real estate for everyone. Thank you.
First of all, I was just in Iowa with Kim Bakey's company and did the diversity course, which all of you have taken. And so that's exactly the whole idea behind the At Home with Diversity course. Be where everyone is. Don't think that people are going to come to you, right? And serving
Right.
all and everyone. I think it's amazing. And I use you as a sample of what to do right to grow your company, because you saw that you were missing a large population, especially in the Latino community, which
Mhm.
Arizona and Tucson has one of the largest Latino communities in the country. So
Right.
amazing that you realized and saw that, and now have really developed and built a company that just really is strong in that area. How about you, Melanie? I came from relocation world, and that experience of providing opportunities to our real estate agents sometimes really leads are really something that they need a little boost in, especially if they are going through a tough time. And the spirit that you are able to provide through the work that you do. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that's really interesting as well.
We operate a business unit that partners with credit unions and their members. And we essentially offer a concierge style service where we have a department of member advocates that really act as a liaison in this process. And ultimately, yet we are providing leads to our broker partners, but we're also adding value to the credit union by offering this additional service to their members. But ultimately, the members receive certain benefits by being part of this program. And so, they just really impacting the real estate experience for those members. With the objective that they're going to come back to our realtors, they're going to come back to the credit union, to transact again and again and again. But so there's the benefit of the transactions that go out through our network. We do it in the Northwest, but we actually handle transactions all through the United States. But one thing that we really see from it is that the value that we can add is that a lot of these members, we handle transactions for all different demographics. So, all different price ranges from entry level to, multi-million-dollar homes. But the first-time home buyers really benefit from this concierge service and are very impacted by it and by the benefits of it. And ultimately, we're impacting, equity in housing by offering these benefits. And some of these folks wouldn't have transacted, without this program. We partner with the credit union and some of the grant programs and unique programs that our credit unions offer to those clients. So it's really multifaceted because there is the benefit of just the transactions that go out into the network, but ultimately really the stories that impact the homeowner, the member, at the end of the transaction. One of our credit union partners has actually made a commercial with some of our clients who were first-time home buyers, who were immigrants, and, the stories that they have and the benefits they receive from the program and being part of it. They may not have transacted void of that. So, there's just a lot of
may have not known the process. And, Melanie, I started the affinity marketing for Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Georgia Properties when they were Prudential. So I'm really familiar with that. My dad was a Delta employee, so we were part of the Delta Credit Union. And so all of those things really do impact home ownership because of the programs and the benefits that you are able to bring in. So kudos to you for offering this also to those within your own area, along with increasing homeownership for so many people. And I know with you, so again, Melanie, thank you. And Tammy, you are so passionate. You and I had a conversation recently about increasing minority homeownership, and that's a big part of what you are focused on. So tell me more about that as well.
Yeah, boy, let's see, how much time do we have?
My goal too. I love it.
Yeah, passion. Yeah, I'm very passionate about it. In several ways. First of all, we as an industry have a lot of work to do. Okay. It is critically important that we, in our population, that we mirror our communities. So that's a real strong emphasis that we're working on. You can't grow if you don't have lots of perspectives. Mm-hmm. So you really need to be able to put all kinds of people at the table. And we're in that time now where world commerce is demanding it. You really, if I sit around the table with everybody that thinks it's just like me, I'm never going to grow. you know,
Okay.
and anything that makes us obviously different and unique is diversity, you know, whether that be veteran status, you know, sexual orientation, minority, you know, ethnicity, you know, there's just so many things. So when you, generational, you know, when you put millenniums at the table with baby boomers, amazing things happen, right?
Mm.
So during the, you know, really, I guess, dark times of when COVID started and obviously the protest and the George Floyd movement, is this, you know, companies were putting out statements. And for those of you that don't know, I am in a biracial marriage, right? And my daughters, who are also, two of them are in real estate, kept asking me, where's the statement? You know, and, you know, I said, I have a large community here. You know, I really want to be thoughtful about it. And I said, and at the end of the day, do you want us to come out with a moment in time or a movement? Right? Because a lot of these statements were a moment in time.
Mhm.
And what we did is we formed a coalition. We formed, they named themselves, and the name is Idea Movers. It's an acronym for Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Allies, Making Our Voices Empower Realtors. And we have all kinds of resource groups underneath the Idea Movers. So once a month, I meet with the Idea Movers, make sure that they're getting everything they need. We have a meeting this week. And one that we had success right away was with the Minority Home Coalition. And it was hard because it was COVID, you know, and we were trying to get out into the community. So we were able to get into community centers, you know, where there was the teenage population and probably, you know, low 20s, that population, where they put together a curriculum where they actually went out and signed people up and obviously brought the pizza and all the things to make, you know, to bring them in and taught financial literacy. You know, financial literacy with credit scoring and, you know, simple things of just having a checkbook. And, you know, these are things that a lot of these people have never experienced. They don't understand generational wealth because their parents and their grandparents never owned a house. I was in that same position. So to be able to understand that you, by coming out in communities, are actually able to change someone's life because it is life-changing. Right. And, you know, we have had our first success story now, you know, with the first person, one of our first classes is now just purchased a home. But that's, you know, the same thing from what Melanie said, is really knowing your programs out there and knowing everything, you know, that exists. And, you know, this group is passionate. They get together and they just, I mean, they're loving on each other of the work they're doing. And actually, you know, every once in a while, you know, they'll kind of look over at me and say, okay, Tammy, we are not a moment in time. We are a movement.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, so, and, you know,
That's
now we're just bringing out all kinds of different resource groups and, yeah, I'm passionate and I'm proud every day.
I'm so
and
excited, number one, because you did what you said you were going to do and you've made an impact on people's lives, which is what is the most important part. And you're right, you know, so many communities, they've never seen any, you know, they're all about rentership. It's all about rentership. Everyone they've known is rented, and they invest in their clothes instead of in their homes, right? And so we talk about all that, and I'm really lucky because our organization actually saw this way before it was a moment in time. So it's been a movement, and I'm just so excited to see all the work that you're doing, that Renee's doing, that Melanie's doing, all across the country as well, with all the diversity councils that we have within our organization. Now let's pivot to personal stuff, because I love to get to know each of you a little bit more. And one of the things that I want to know is, what has impacted you? What one thing happened or has been a memorable event, a life-changing event that has either impacted you professionally, personally, and why? And I'll start with you, Renee.
Oh, I get to go first, huh? Okay. You know, I thought about a lot about this, and I would say that my career has, I'm very, very grateful for all of the people that gave me an opportunity. And I think back to when I was working in Nebraska as a loan officer, and Steve Quinlan, who was the CEO here at Long Realty at the time, and the CEO at the company that I was working with were friends. And I got the opportunity to meet Steve and Rosie Coberline, who was the next CEO, and interview with them and talk through, what they were looking for and what I could bring to them to start the mortgage organization here. I was just barely 22 years old, and for them to give me the opportunity to, to take on that role and give, put all of their, all of the control of getting this company up and running to me, I was not going to let them down. And that in and of itself, just somebody giving someone else the opportunity, a young woman, the opportunity that said, I can do this, give me the opportunity to do it and to prove that I did. I will forever be grateful to Steve and Rosie for giving me the opportunity to do that and really change my life immensely in regards to what I have been able to accomplish. So I look back at that as being the most memorable event because it really changed my career for myself and for my family, and gave me the opportunity. And then I am always looking for young, energetic, people that may not have necessarily all the experience, but they have the drive and they have the opportunity and ability to say, I want to do this, and I will give everybody the opportunity to do that. You can teach anybody anything. You can't give people the drive and the passion that they need in order to be successful.
Oh, wow. Given the opportunity, I think that's fantastic. And of course, a shout out to Rosie, who's the first person I actually met with loan companies and the work there. So she had the foresight to hire you. So I think that's great. All right, Melanie, how about you?
Well, there's probably many, but one thing that kind of came to mind when I was thinking about that question was just if we're talking about an event, this was a little more than an event, it was a period of time, but I would say that the Great Recession had a big impact on me in the way that I had to look inwardly at myself as a leader. I had many hundreds of employees who were, looking at me for answers and solutions. And so I think the ability or leading through that adversity and then being open-minded enough and developing a skill set to be open-minded enough to reinvent myself, during that period and reinvent the company and reinvent our deliverables. Make everybody feel it was okay and help, encourage them to reinvent themselves because we had to do things differently. And so, I think that really was a period of time or an event that helped me develop my skill sets as a leader. And I think, now I feel much more confident, navigating this next period of time where we're going through, another changing market. And how to encourage people to move through that proactively, and that there's a lot of, positive things that can come through these changes. And so I think that was a very impactful period of time on me and a lot of people in this business, obviously.
Well, no, and what a great way to actually go through that and develop yourself. And certainly, you hear Warren Buffett and also Gina always say within challenges lies opportunities, right? And so I think that certainly was very evident. And today, now more than ever, I think your leadership is going to be very pivotal as agents experience a different type of, business as to the ones they've experienced for the last 5 years, especially if they're new in this business, which a lot of our agents are. How about you, Tammy? Tell me a little bit about anything that has made a big impact in your life professionally.
Yeah, obviously there's several things, and I love what Melanie just said, because I think we all have had to learn to be nimble and that you pivot. You just have to pivot, and you have to do it on a dime,
Right.
And you got to get good at it. But if I have to talk about one memorable experience, and this is, rewind 20 years ago, and 20 years ago, there were not a lot of women in executive leadership. I mean, when I'm telling you not a lot, Abby Holiday, right? There just weren't. And I found myself, I was always a worker, I just work, as my husband said, she just does it, and I found myself on the 40th floor of an office building in downtown Milwaukee. And I was in a boardroom and there were about 10 men and me. And I was signing papers to become a full partner in First Weber.
Mm.
Right. And they had approached me, and we were here, and all of a sudden I had that hyperventilating moment. Like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here, because of all of everything that was put into me as I was growing up. You're biting off more than you chew, and you can't do this, and you're a woman, and and here I am, and I actually had to leave the room for about 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I kind of hid out in the back corner office, and one of the lead attorneys came back and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm not okay." And he said, "Tammy, you're coming back in the room." He said, "This is the finest group of owners I have ever met, and I do this for a living. You're signing those papers." And I signed the papers, and as I was signing them, I said to myself, today is the first day of your career. And every day you have to get up now and prove you're qualified for this job. And
Wow.
to this day, I get up every morning and I say, today I have to prove I'm qualified for this job,
Wow.
because I knew what I was going to be facing, and I knew I had to be 10 times better.
Wow.
It's a privilege to be a woman in leadership,
Oh,
but it's been a hard journey. Right?
it is, right? A tough journey. And I think that's what incredible insight, and what great advice the lawyer gave you, right? You get it back in there. This is the best, and look at you today. I think that's amazing. Would you say that was your biggest risk that you've taken?
Oh God, I love that question. I almost took it out, because Teresa, honestly, it's all I do is take risks. I couldn't tell you what the biggest one is. And to me, I never looked at him. I was taking risks. It was like, if it's not challenging, you can't change, So, it was always, okay, let's try this. But I'm very risky, yes, with my own self, but I'm very thoughtful when other people are involved. And I always look at the unintended consequences of what my actions could be, right? I'm always looking down. So, I would say every day I take risks, but you know what? And if you really want to be successful in anything in life, you have to take risks.
You do. I think it is so true. And a lot of people are scared to take risk. How about you, Renee? What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Oh, I think the biggest risk I ever took was the same thing that was my biggest accomplishment. The same thing with Tamara. It's like the risk is somebody's putting this company that they want me to start on my shoulders, and I said, okay, I'll do it. But it was a risk that I was going to be successful, and that I could. I think we all take risks in this industry, being a leader, every single day. And I think that's where we have to be able to really look and say, this is what I'm going to do for us. And I also am the first to say, if I made a mistake, if I've made a mistake, I'm the first to admit it, and then we find something else and we move on. So I think that there's that resonates as well. Personally, my biggest risk is jumping out of an airplane, but probably the most life-changing as well, because it's, again, you're taking yourself and putting yourself in a situation that you don't know what's going to happen, and that you take that into your business world, and it certainly resonates.
Oh, I think that's great. I know, Melanie, you and Jason have done that for sure. The next time we're together in Nevada, I'm going to do it as well.
Are you doing it? Okay. So yeah, Teresa knows that every year,
every year, I know.
Every year at convention, our tradition is that we gather a group of our agents, and they jump out of an airplane with us. So
I love it.
Well, I want to do it this year, because we're going to be back in Las Vegas. So Melanie, for sure, y'all include me. Let me know when y'all are doing it. All right. How about you? What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Well, besides that, which I never thought I would do, and Renee, you probably thought that before you actually did it yourself.
Right.
Really, for me, it was, similar to what you just described, Renee. When I jumped to this company, actually, into the side of the business, I had a very mature career. I was very integrated into an organization that I was a part of. It was a great company. I had great opportunities. I worked with great people. So it was just a time for me to stretch myself and change and take on, a new path and a new opportunity, and challenge myself a bit. And So when I looked at the opportunity that existed within the BHHS offices in Washington and Oregon, and where those home services offices were in their growth and trajectory, it was 3 companies kind of coming into one. So there was a lot of work to be done because you have 3 different cultures and, everything that comes with that. I had familiarity with a lot of folks within the organization because they were clients of mine, prior to that. So I had an affinity to the people. But I took the leap to take that opportunity, and it was very, very scary because I had been, I had kind of already set my path, and there was a path for me, that I already knew what that looked like. But for some reason, I felt like it was time for me to try something different, and I haven't looked back, and it's been exciting, but not without bumps in the road.
Well, I love that you actually took a chance on a whole different area that all of you have done, right? That's really what it takes to be successful. And you're right, Renee, sometimes we mess up, and sometimes it's owning it. That's the best part of it, is telling, hey,
Yeah.
I messed up. So, but I think it's great. But what advice would any of you would like to share that you wish that somebody would have given you, or that you think, hey, I'm going to give this advice to my children because I did it. So what advice would you give anyone? And I will start with you, Tammy.
I if I've thought a lot about this one, and I think it's more of the advice that I would give. I'm kind of stubborn, and I'm going to kind of do things like how I do them, and they worked. So they worked. But one of the things I've learned, and I think it goes back to, obviously being in this business a long time when there weren't a lot of women, is don't let anybody else define you. You don't let anyone define you, and you have to learn to draw boundaries. You have to learn to draw boundaries, and I still try and keep my privacy private.
That's good. Sometimes that's tough. That's a really tough thing. Like, I'm an open book. Everyone knows everything about me. So it is a tough challenge. And also saying no. That's another one that's difficult for me. But how about you, Melanie?
Well, first, the advice I received is really common sense, but at the time I received it was meaningful to me. It was just when you have a problem or something that needs to be dealt with, you have to address it right there. Like, don't let things fester. You cannot let it just hope it's going to go away. You have to be able to make difficult decisions and be decisive about it and just act, because I remember, it's not that I hadn't done this, right? But I remember when someone said that to me, I was actually in a leadership course outside of the, work and I had something that was festering, kind of sitting there that I knew I needed to deal with. And I was like, in my mind, you're right. You just have to. So, I think that we all need to be reminded that once in a while, because it's just something that there's always something. And so, prioritizing. But for advice that I get, just thinking of my own kids and what advice I give them. Right now, they can relate it better to sports because we're a sports family. We're really, they're passionate about their sports and teams. And so, really just giving them advice to choose something that they enjoy and are passionate about. But you have to commit to it, and it's going to be really hard. And there's going to be days that you don't want to do it. In fact, yesterday, my daughter had a soccer game and, probably on the turf, 100 degrees. And then after that, she had 3 hours of softball training, and she really didn't want to go because she just didn't feel well. She was exhausted, and she was beleaguered kind of from other things that she had on the weekend. And I was like, you committed to this. At the end of the day, you're going to be happy that you put the work in. You have to be disciplined, in the work that you put in. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, she was happy that she had made it through the day, committed. But I think, if you're passionate about something, but, also just being committed to doing the activities to be successful.
I think both of those are great advice. Number one, facing things dead on. Sometimes that is so hard for all of us. For sure. I know it is for me. How about you, Renee?
I would say when I thought about this as advice is I look back to my parents. My parents were really big supporters of mine. I come from a family of all women, all daughters. I have 4 sisters. So my poor dad, he had to go get a dog in order to have some male dog, male people around. But my mom and dad always used to tell me, and they still do, you can do anything that you want to do as long as you work hard at it and keep moving every single day. And I continued that path down to my daughter, who is she's a freshman now at college. And I think that that's something that really we all need to realize is that we can do anything. You can do anything that you want to, as long as you try, like Melanie said, don't give up. And continue to to make mistakes and know that that is only gonna help you get better on what you're looking to do, and just continue. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something. Go with what, and that fits into what Tamara said. You know what? You can do anything that you feel you can, and don't listen to other people, because other people will have opinions that they don't know who you are. They don't know what you want. And so that would be my advice is be yourself, go out there and get what you want to get, but you got to work hard in order to do it.
Oh, I think those are great. I love all 3 of the advices they given. And sometimes the biggest, doubter is your own self, right?
Exactly.
So I think that someone made me that advice, say, don't let your no inside rule your yes outside, that you really always, that was one that somebody gave me. How about mentorship? We're running out of time. I can't believe it. So I'm going to ask you 3 more questions. This is 2 more questions after this one. So how about mentors? Who has inspired you, mentored you, or someone that really you want to just give tribute to today? Renee, I'll start with you.
Well, I already talked about the big mentors, Steve Quinlan, Rosie Coberline, who was the CEO until I took over. I worked under her for a long time and really grew under her. My parents have definitely mentored me, as I just alluded to, but I think mentorship is the people around me. I look to my entire leadership team, all of the agents, to give me advice on what I can do to help them be more successful. So I think that it's a matter of being open to anyone that wants to give you advice and be mentored. But I think that's, I probably have already answered that question in regards to who I believe has really helped me become successful. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that I'm going to run into today, tomorrow, somebody else that's going to give me some advice that will help me be more successful as I move forward.
Oh, and Matt Rivera,
mortgage,
told me that was the number one thing that he loved about you is that he sees you as a mentor himself.
Oh, awesome.
and the work that you do. So I give him a shout out as well.
Yeah.
How about you, Tammy?
Mentorship. Yes, I had a great mentor when I came into the business, and she was probably the agent that everyone was the most afraid of in the office. Right? Strong, forceful woman, very strong. However, for whatever reason, she took me under her wing. She saw something that I didn't even know existed, and to this day, she's up there in age now, but to this day, she's always the one I'll give credit to, and it's you, Rita Jackson, and it, right? But I'd like to talk a little bit more about inspiration, because I've had great mentors in my life, but inspiration has to be a daily event for me, right? And I have I have the luxury, my children are all grown, so I have my morning routine that I do every day, right? And it's non-negotiable. I mean, it's non-negotiable. I do readings from leadership books. I have a spiritual reading I do. I write in a gratitude journal, and I write affirmations every day, a full sheet of affirmations. This is where I get real crazy, right? all while listening to Gregorian chants. Right?
Okay, that one. I think but you're on the same par as Gino, who's taught me the same. I do the same thing. Really Gregorian chants.
Yeah. You know what? And like I say, it's my non-negotiable. It's like, even with my husband, it's like, don't wake up until I'm done with this.
That's wonderful. I love that. And it does keep you grounded. It makes your day start off in a phenomenal way. So I think that's great. How about you, Melanie?
Well, I've had a lot of outstanding mentors, that have, as Renee said, just given me chances that I probably didn't even deserve yet at the time, but they believed in me to be able to accomplish that. But from like a, kind of just from a daily basis or daily inspiration, I have the privilege of the individual who runs and operates our title company, Equity Title, that we started about 3 years ago. She and I actually go back to the beginning of our careers. We started early in our careers together. Her name's Nicole Giamatti. We started early together in our careers together. We were literally 18, 19 years old. I was in college and grew up in the business, navigated many biases, as we kind of navigated our careers, early on. But we hold each other accountable. We say all the hard things to each other, around, decision making, keeping each other uplifted, when you have a challenging day, and really just believing in what we can accomplish. And so I'm excited that we're able to work together again. And I think that, we have achieved a lot in that business unit in a short period of time. Really to her leadership, and all credit to her leadership. But I feel fortunate to have someone that I get to work with on a daily basis, that we have that level of accountability and vulnerability. And I think it just makes us both better leaders.
Oh, I think that's great. And again, having someone that can also hold you accountable and be honest with you, because sometimes we do stuff and you're like, do you think I did the right thing? And having a person that can say, well, maybe in this case, we think it, we think of your position. I think it's important to have somebody in your life that is there to support you, but also there to keep you also in check. I think that's really incredible. As we wrap up, two more, this is the last one because you mentioned it. How about biases? Have y'all ever felt or, had anybody assume something about you, had any biases or presumptions? And Tammy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, of course. I did a session on this about powerful women a few years back. And, part of the problem is a powerful man is admired. Okay. A powerful woman walks a fine line. The B word comes to mind, right? Right? And, when you are, and I've always been, very strong and very, very transparent and very honest. Someone once said to me, I think it was my biggest compliment. She said, Tammy, you say what everyone thinks, but are afraid to say. And it's true. And, it's been my biggest attribute, but of course, people that don't really know me can certainly take it the wrong way because of the strength. But you know what? It's all good.
Oh, I think it's great. I think you're absolutely 100% right. And sometimes we even struggle in our own identity, right? To be powerful or not to be, especially in our culture, in the Latino culture.
The women are the hardest.
Yeah,
I mean, the hardest on you. It's the other women.
100% true. How about you, Renee?
Oh, well, absolutely. I think we all at some point in our lives will have this happen. But as a younger woman trying to start an organization, people looked at me like, what does she know about anything?
The credibility factor, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, and I still get, and I'm much older now, but I still get, how old are you anyway? So you have to, one of the things that I learned throughout my career is you can't take anything personal. You just have to prove to them that you do know exactly what you're doing, and go above and beyond and earn their respect. I think that's the first thing that I've always said is, always, if you earn people's respect, they'll come around. And that doesn't come easy when they already have a negative just by what you look like. So that, I think you just have to overcome that. You just have to be who you are and really show everyone that you can and will do it, and not let their biases, because ultimately it's their bias, it's not ours, right?
Right.
About ourselves, that we can do whatever we set our minds to. And it doesn't matter how old you are, what you look like, or where you come from, that you can.
I love that. And it's both sides of the spectrum. How old are
Right.
you young, or how older you are as older, right? I think sometimes that's ageism. We get a lot of people don't, it's the opposite. You see that happening too with somebody that's a lot older.
Yeah.
So I think that is such a smart, and bias that we've all experienced. And last but not least, Melanie, how about you?
Sure. Especially probably the first half of my career, but I think, that it's, I'm no exception. And I think that it's, very similar to Tammy and Renee. I think I always fortunately, I was either naive enough or had enough confidence or arrogance enough to just navigate that and just, just block out the noise. And probably overdo it or try, I always put in extra effort, extra work and just to overcome those perceptions or biases. But I also recognize I'm not in the worst, situation as far as what people go up against as far as biases they face. I mean, I have biracial children myself who are going to be powerful women themselves. They are going to face many more biases than I do. So just instilling that confidence in them to overcome that and to just, stay down their path and don't let people deter them.
Stay the course. Stay the course.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, we are done. We're wrapping up, and I always like to end with a quote or a book or recommendation. That's just the way I love to end it in a positive way. So I'm going to start with you, Renee. Give me your favorite either quote or book that you can leave our audience with.
Yeah, you bet. So one of the things I didn't comment on is I'm a runner and a retired triathlete. And so this is a quote that has stuck with me, and people laugh at me, but it can be used for anything, not just running, I promise. But it's from Julian Michaels, and it's unless you puke, faint, or die, keep going.
Love it.
That is a perfect quote. It's a perfect quote.
And that can resonate with anything. Just keep going.
I agree.
I love it. Melanie, how about you?
I have a lot of them, but I do have one right behind me that I like. It always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela. So I have that in my office to remind me on days that things aren't feeling quite, in reach. That it's possible. It seems impossible until it's done. So just keep going.
Oh my goodness, that's great. I love that. And then Tammy, we'll wrap up with you.
Tammy has lots of them. I don't even know who to attribute them to, but I live by them. And one of them is never chase the money. When you chase the money, there'll never be enough. Chase authentic accomplishment. When you chase authentic accomplishment, that's where legacies are born. And my second one, which is just as important, is it doesn't matter who gets the credit, right? You need to let go of your ego. Ego is just overdressed insecurity.
It is so true. Wow. What a great way to end our show today. And I really have had such a pleasure spending time with each of you. And I really appreciate that you have given your authentic selves. I really also want to thank our audience for being us and for tuning in every single, time that we have the show. This will also be converted into a podcast, so you'll get to hear it for those of you who don't have the time to watch it while you're on the road, where you're going to listens. You'll have the opportunity to also listen to this wonderful series. I really want to leave you with the following quote that I think embodies all of you. And I think it's one from Sam Walton. Outstanding leaders go out of their way to boost the self-esteem of their personnel. If people believe in themselves, it's amazing what they can accomplish. And there is no doubt that all of you have shared that you do that with your employees, with your agents, and the people that you're lucky enough to be able to serve with. So I really want to thank all of you. And I want to thank again and ask all of you to tune in as we are going to be connecting next time around on November 21st with our title industry leaders. So again, we talked about title. They'll be the next ones that'll be in part of the show. It's on November 6th, right here on this channel or wherever you listen to podcasts. And again, I really appreciate you watching the show. And please remember my favorite saying of all, always bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. See all of you soon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.